Good, good afternoon. This is Joe Hall. This is Black History Month. Today is February the 23rd, 2021. 153 years ago today, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, W.E.B. Du Bois, the author of The Souls of Black Folk, Black Reconstruction, the original editor of the Crisis magazine, NAACP's monthly journal, one of the founders of the NAACP, one of the founders of the Niagara Movement, was born. The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. The cost of liberty is less than the price of repression. The power of the ballot we need in sheer defense, else what shall save us from second slavery? W.E.B. Du Bois painted a true picture of Black Reconstruction when he published his seminal piece on the Reconstruction period, a period that had been erased by white historians. And on his birthday, I plan to celebrate it by reading one of his most famous speeches. The speech that he gave in 1905 when he stood before a group of men and women at the Niagara Movement. I want to read that today because I want to celebrate the man that was William Edward Burghardt Du Bois. The men of the Niagara Movement, coming from the toil of the year's hard work and pausing a moment from the earning of their daily bread, turn towards the nation and again ask in the name of 10 million the privilege of hearing in the past year the work of the Negro hater that has flourished in this land. Step by step, the defenders of the rights of American citizens have retreated. The work of stealing the black man's ballot has progressed, and the 50 or more representatives of stolen votes still sit in our nation's capital. Discrimination in travel and public accommodation has so spread that some of our weaker brethren are actually afraid to thunder against color discrimination as such and are simply whispering for ordinary decencies. Against this, the Niagara Movement eternally protests. We will not be satisfied to take one jot or title less than our full manhood rights. We claim for ourselves every single right that belongs to a freeborn American, political, civil, and social. And until we get these rights, we will never cease to protest and assail the ears of America. The battle we wage is not for ourselves alone, but for all true Americans. It is a fight for ideals, at least this, our common fatherland, false to its foundings, becomes in truth the land of the thief and the home of the slave, a byword and a hissing among nations for its sounding pretensions and pitiful accomplishment. Never before in the modern age has a great and civilized folk threatened to adopt so cowardly a creed in the treatment of its new fellow citizens born and bred on its soil. Stripped of verbiage and subterfuge and in its naked nastiness, the new American creed says, fear to let black men try to even rise lest they become the equals of the whites. And this is the land that professes to follow Jesus Christ. The blasphemy of such a course is only matched by its cowardness. In details, our demands are clear and unequivocal. First, we would vote. With the right to vote goes everything: freedom, manhood, the honor of your wives, the chastity of your daughters, the right to work, and the chance to rise. And let no man listen to those who deny this. We want full manhood suffrage, and we want it now, henceforth and forever. Second, we want discrimination in public accommodations to cease. Separation in railway and streetcars based simply on race and color is un-American, undemocratic, and silly. And we protest against all such discrimination. Third, we claim the right of free men to walk, talk, and be with them that wish to be with us. No man has the right to choose another man's friends, and to attempt to do so is an imprudent interference with the most fundamental human privilege. Fourth, we want the laws enforced against the rich as well as poor, against capitalists as well as laborer, against white as well as black. We are no more lawless than the white race, and we are often more arrested, convicted, and mobbed. We want justice even for criminals and outlaws. We want the Constitution of the country enforced, and we want Congress to take charge of congressional elections. We want the 14th Amendment carried out to the letter, and every state disenfranchised in Congress which attempts to disenfranchise its rightful voters. We want the 15th Amendment enforced, and no state allowed to base its franchise simply on color. The failure of the Republican Party in Congress at the session just closed to redeem its pledge of 1904 with reference to suffrage conditions at the South seems plain, deliberate, and premeditated. It was a breach of promise and stamps the Republican Party as guilty of attaining votes under false pretense. Fifth, we want our children educated. The school system in the country districts of the South is a disgrace, and few towns and cities are Negro schools what they ought to be. We want the national government to step in and wipe out illiteracy in the South. Either the United States will destroy ignorance, or ignorance will destroy the United States. And when we call for education, we mean real education. We believe in work. We ourselves are workers, but work is not necessarily education. Education is the development of power and ideal. We want our children trained as intelligent human beings should be, and we will fight for all time against any proposal to educate black boys and girls simply as servants and underlings, or simply for the use of other people. They have a right to know, to think, to aspire. These are the chief things which we want, and how shall we get them? By voting where we may vote, by persistence and unceasing agitation, by hammering at the truth, by sacrifice and work. We do not believe in violence, neither in the despised violence of the red, nor the lauded violence of the soldier, nor the barbarous violence of the mob, but we do believe in John Brown, and in that incarnate spirit of justice, that hatred of a lie, that willingness to sacrifice money, reputation, and life itself on the altar of right. And here on the scene of John Brown's martyrdom, we reconsecrate ourselves, our honor, our property, to the final emancipation of a race which John Brown died to make free. Our enemies, triumphant for the present, are fighting the stars in their courses. Justice and humanity must prevail. We live to tell these dark brothers of ours, sacred in counsel, scattered in counsel, weathering and weak, that no bribe of money or notoriety, no promise of wealth or fame is worth the future of a people's manhood or the loss of a man's self-respect. We refuse to surrender the leadership of this race to cowards and trucklers. We are men, and we will be treated as men. On this rock we have planted our banners. We will never give up, though the trump of doom finds us still fighting. And we shall win. The past promised it, the present foretells it. Thank God for John Brown. Thank God for Garrison and Douglas, Sumner and Phillips, Nat Turner and Robert Gould Shaw, and all the hallowed dead who died for freedom. Thank God for all those today, few though their voices be, who have not forgotten the divine brotherhood of all men, white and black, rich and poor, fortunate and unfortunate. We appeal to the young men and women of this nation, to those whose nostrils are not yet befouled by greed and snobbery and racial narrowness. Stand up for the right. Prove yourselves worthy of your heritage, and whether born north or south, dare to treat men as men. Cannot the nation that has absorbed 10 million foreigners into its political life without catastrophe absorb 10 million Negro Americans into that same political life at less cost than their unjust and illegal exclusion will involve? I call for courage, brother. Courage, my brothers. Courage. The battle for humanity is not lost or losing. All across the skies sit signs of promise. The Slav is rising in his might. The yellow millions are tasting liberty. The black Africans are rising towards the light. And everywhere the laborer, with ballot in his hand, is voting, open the gates of opportunity and peace. The morning breaks over blood-stained hills, and we must not falter. We may not shrink. Above are the everlasting stars. Have a great day and happy birthday, Dr. Du Bois.